What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so while everybody's trying to figure out what's going on up in Minnesota, while the corporate press is actively undermining the fact-bringing, if you will, trying to actively undermine that situation, like, what is going on with that, by the way? Like, why do they refuse to acknowledge, oh, well, this was a trans person that hated Donald Trump, that hated Christians, that just wanted carnage? Why do they refuse all of these things? Why do they refuse to let you know about all these things? I just don't understand why the corporate press does what the corporate press does. But once again, you can tell what they're doing. We just don't know why. Like, why portray this narrative? Is it because they want this type of thing to happen? No, of course not, because the optics for them looks bad, folks. Looks real bad. That's not what we're talking about. Like, meanwhile, in the rest of the world, check this out, y'all. 14,000 U.S.-bound migrants have returned south since Trump's border changes, the UN says. Right? So I'm trying to stay off of that because everybody's covering that Minneapolis thing so heavily. So I'm trying to stay out of there and trying to give you guys some other news because, you know, we don't want to be inundated with the same news just constantly. That's all they're talking about, blah, blah, blah. Right? You get overloaded, if you will, you know, kind of stressed out listening to the same garbage. So that's what I'm here for, folks. I'm generally not going to cover those big, beautiful stories or whatever. I usually cover smaller news, stuff that's kind of pertinent to what's going on, and we discuss things and we go over the manipulation, folks. So let's get into this because this is a fascinating article. Many logical fallacies all throughout, if you will, and some manipulation. Let's get into this. From PBS, by the way, like PBS News. Why manipulate your news? Why do that? I don't know, but they do. More than 14,000 mainly Venezuelan migrants who hope to reach the United States have reversed course and turned south since U.S. President Donald Trump's immigration crackdown began, according to a report published Friday by the governments of Colombia, Panama, and Costa Rica. The phenomenon, known as reverse flow migration, is largely made up of Venezuelan migrants who fled their country's long-running economic, social, and political crises, only to encounter U.S. immigration policy no longer open to asylum seekers. Now, what's fascinating about this, they call them asylum seekers. All right, so these people are fleeing a communist hellhole. Hey, Democrats out there, check out what's going on in Venezuela. That's what you guys are trying to do in this country. You can deny it, but we can see it. We see it in your policy implementation. We see it in your rhetoric. We see it. It's pretty much everything that you guys are doing. You're trying to bring about a color revolution in this country that is psychotic, to say the least. Just outright psychotic. So we see what you're doing. We know how to stop it, and that's exactly what we're doing, by the way. But these people, call them asylum seekers. Well, hang on. You just went all the way through Mexico to get here, right? You just went through all these other countries to get here. If you really were an asylum seeker, why didn't you set up camp in Mexico? Oh, is that not first world enough for you? Oh, you wanted to come to the United States for economic opportunities. Why not just say that? See, this is the corporate press. The corporate press is calling them asylum seekers. It's not them identifying themselves as asylum seekers. These people probably would identify as, oh, we just want Pizza Hut. Yeah, we want Pizza Hut, Netflix. That's what they're coming to the United States. They're not coming to seek asylum. They want the economic opportunities of the United States, and that's it, hands down, because they didn't stop in any of these other safe countries, the other countries you can go to and claim asylum. Mexico would love to have these people. Mexico accepts asylum seekers. Why didn't they stop there? See, this is why it's disingenuous to make the argument, oh, Donald Trump just shut off asylum. I wouldn't say that, because those people aren't asylum seekers. Democrats, you let them tell it, everybody in the world is seeking asylum. But that's not the case. Why? Because their own actions prove that they're not seeking asylum because they did not stop in any of these other countries that are safe for asylum seekers, that they could easily set up shop, get government assistance, do whatever they got to do. But no, they chose to just bleed right on through all of those countries to get to the United States. Look, I get it. I totally get it. How about you go to Mexico, find a U.S. embassy, and go up in there and fill out your paperwork? They don't do that, do they? Most of these people would fly right under the radar, try to come into the country and start working illegally, so then they don't have to pay taxes. None of that. It's all insane, y'all. But I'm glad they got turned around. I am really glad. You're not going to be allowed into the United States willy-nilly. Not while Donald Trump is in office. Migration through the treacherous Darien Gap on the border of Colombia and Panama peaked in 2023 when more than 500,000 migrants crossed. That flow slowed somewhat in 2024 but dried up almost completely earlier this year. Friday's report, published with support of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, said that northward migration had dropped 97% this year. Migrants traveling south interviewed in Costa Rica, Panama, and Colombia by those countries' ombudsman offices, whatever that is, were almost all Venezuelans, 97%, and about half of them said they planned to return to Venezuela, according to the report. Nearly all said they were returning because they could no longer legally reach the U.S. That, once again, is the corporate press injecting manipulation into the news article. Do you think those people care if they could legally reach the U.S.? Did that stop anybody before that? Has that stopped them over the last 40 years from coming to this country? No, it hasn't. Otherwise, we would not have the migration crisis that we have had over the last 40 years, for crying out loud. Do you think those people care about entering our country legally? No, they don't, folks. Once again, the corporate press is trying to inject their bias into the news article to make you think these are just poor people that are fleeing a communist hellscape. Oh, they didn't do anything wrong. They are just angels. That's what the corporate press is trying to make you believe with this. And that's why I cover it. Since 2017, around 8 million people have fled the crisis in Venezuela. What? Oh, so now they're calling it a crisis. Socialism is a crisis, folks. That is right. Good job, corporate press. You didn't think that bit of manipulation would get twisted around in such a fashion, did you? No, they are openly calling what is going on in Venezuela, which is socialism, a crisis, folks. Let that be a warning. For years, those migrants flocked to other South American nations, including Colombia, Peru, Ecuador, Chile, and more. That changed in 2021 when hundreds of thousands of people set out for the U.S., braving the Darien Gap along the way. A U.S. government smartphone app became the main way for asylum seekers to enter the U.S. under the Biden administration. Yeah, and it violated our laws, as a matter of fact. Then thousands of migrants became stranded in Mexico when Trump ended the use of the app on his first day in office. Now, once again, this is more micro manipulations because you might just read over that and not think twice about that. And somewhere in the back of your head, you'd be thinking, well, Donald Trump is evil because now he's stranded all these migrants in Mexico. Okay, let me put it to you guys. Anybody that was buying into that, by the way, let me put it to you guys this way. Okay, let's say you go to the grocery store and they're closed. Like on foot, you walk to the grocery store because you don't have a car or whatever. You have to walk to the grocery store and you go there and they just so happen to be closed. Or, you know what, let's get even closer to apples. Let's say you don't have a car and you walk to the grocery store and come to find out that because you're from a certain neighborhood and there's a lot of crime, a lot of robberies have taken place from people from your neighborhood, this specific grocery store decided Yeah, we don't want you to come into our store. You're banned from coming into our store. All right, now set all that aside. Set that discrimination aside, right? Like, legally dubious in the United States, at least. Let's set all that aside, but let's say that's the situation. You're banned because you're from this neighborhood. You walked to this store. So you find out you're banned. You can't go into this store. Would you consider yourself stranded in the parking lot of that grocery store because they said you can't go into that grocery store? That's what the corporate press is trying to make you believe. That if you walk to a store and it's closed, or they say you can't come in because you're banned for whatever reason, doesn't matter. They're trying to make you believe that now you are stranded in the parking lot of that store. Well, hang on, you walked there. You can just turn around and walk back. This is the manipulation of the corporate press, folks. And it's all over the place. All the time. It's constant with these people. They don't know how to just give you the news without implicit bias in their writing. And it's implicit. Some of it's conscious. Some of it's just implicit. They just don't know how to be unbiased. They can't just say 14,000 migrants were turned around and that's it. That's the news. They're not coming here because Donald Trump's border policies. We don't know if they're asylum seekers. We don't know if they're just economic migrants. We don't know if it's criminal gangs. We don't know any of these things. Why? Because nobody from PBS or nobody from the UN, whoever gave this report, went and asked every single one of these people, all 14,000 of them. Asked, you might have interviewed one or two, but that doesn't really tell you the whole story, does it? Once again, folks, you got to be wary when you get these reports like this. But, that's what I'm here for, folks. I'll point these things out every single time I come across them. Every single time. Now, those migrants who were still trying to reach the U.S. when Trump entered and changed border policies have reversed course, traveling back to South America. And a quarter of those interviewed plan to go to neighboring Colombia, previously the epicenter of the mass migration from Venezuela. Others said they didn't know where they were going. Colombia and other South American nations spent years pleading for aid from the international community to cope with the brunt of Venezuela's migratory crisis before many of those same migrants began moving toward the United States. Today, Venezuela's political and economic turmoil rages on. Migrants, most of whom trekked days across the Darien Gap on their way north, and even more vulnerable as they make their way back. They have fewer funds to finance their journey and few prospects for work when they get back. Migrants are dropped into regions with a heavy presence of criminal groups that increasingly prey upon them, the report said. Most of these people are already victims of human rights abuses, Scott Campbell, a UN human rights representative in Colombia, said in a statement. We urge authorities to aid people in this reverse migration to prevent them from being exploited or falling into trafficking networks run by illegal armed groups. The shift marks a radical reversal in one of the biggest mass migrations in the world. Migrants bust south through Mexico and other Central American nations until they arrive at the center of Panama. From there, migrants pay between $260 and $280 to ride on precarious boats packed with people back to Colombia. They take two different routes. Most island hop north of Panama through the Caribbean Sea, landing in the small town of Nicolay, Colombia, where many started their journeys through the Darien. Others travel south by sea along a jungled swath of Panama and Colombia through the Pacific Ocean, where they are dropped off in remote towns or the Colombian city of, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, Buenaventura. Colombia's ombudsman's office estimates around 450 people have taken the perilous route, and the UN documented migrants getting scammed and stranded, facing boat accidents and arriving arriving beaten down and vulnerable from their journey. The region is one of the most violent in Colombia, and lack of state presence is filled by warring armed groups. Yeah, cry me a freaking river. Look, these countries, if it's so bad, do something about it, for goodness sakes. Like we did. That's what we did as colonies. We rose up against our oppressors and formed our own nation. If you guys got to do that, do what you got to do. Like, fix your own countries. I just don't understand this. You come to this country and try to tear down this country. That's what you guys are doing. If they really wanted asylum, like I said, they would go to Mexico or go somewhere else. Go south. Go to Brazil, for goodness sakes. That's a good democracy, for crying out loud. I mean, we have crime here too. It's not all chicken wings and fast food around here either. We've got places like Chicago that's just as bad as some of the cities in South America, for crying out loud. So, you know, these people coming to this country, I just don't understand why they think they can just cross that border illegally. They can just trek here and then blame us as if it's our problem. Try to tug on our heartstrings. Oh, our country's a crap hole. Like, what can we do about that? Nothing. We can't do anything about that. We can't fix the rest of the world. We just don't have the resources to do so. I don't get it, y'all, but I think that's all I got on this one. Y'all let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section, because it blows my mind every single time that these people just trying to make us feel so bad about these migrants who make this long journey. I'm still going, but y'all let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. Y'all don't forget to smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. Sign up, become a member. That would be great. And you guys out there, y'all remember that God is always with us, and He loves each and every one of you, even these people. Everybody loves all of us. So y'all remember that. Y'all try to have a good day and stay legitical. Peace.